The hum of the ship's engines was a constant, rhythmic presence in Jack's ears, vibrating through the soles of his boots as he worked tirelessly beneath the ship's hull. His tools were a blur in his hands, sockets, wrenches, and diagnostic pads clicking together as he worked. The ship, a commercial cargo vessel named the Orion, had broken down in deep space, far from any inhabited system. Jack was alone, stranded with only the mechanical beeps of the ship's systems to accompany him. For the past 2 weeks, he had been drifting through the void, cut off from all contact. The communications array had malfunctioned, and without that, there was no way to signal for help. There had been no signs of distress, no alien signals, no strange phenomena. Just the quiet, cold isolation of space. Until now. It was in the middle of his routine checkup, under the maintenance panel of the ship's lower hull, when he heard the first noise that wasn't coming from the Orion systems. A low, guttural hum, unlike anything he had ever heard, filled the ship's internal corridors. His hands froze mid-repair, fingers stiffening around the tool in his grip. The sound was alien, there was no other way to describe it. It wasn't the ship, it wasn't a malfunction, and it certainly wasn't something natural to the cargo vessel he had known for years. Jack slid out from under the hull, wiping sweat from his forehead. His heartbeat quickened. This wasn't just some engine failure. This was something new. Something different. He grabbed the nearest communication pad and flicked through the system logs, but nothing appeared to explain the noise. It wasn't a ship-wide alert, it wasn't an incoming transmission. The ship was dead silent in every other regard, but the sound persisted, low and persistent, like a hum that vibrated through his bones. It wasn't coming from the ship's engines. No, this came from somewhere deeper. His mind raced. Could it be some form of interstellar interference? Space dust? A malfunction in the fuel cells? No, none of those made sense. The noise was rhythmic, almost as if it were calling to him. Jack's instincts screamed at him to investigate. He quickly grabbed his flashlight and made his way toward the source of the hum. The ship wasn't large, only a few dozen rooms spread across its modest frame, but it still took Jack a few minutes to track down the sound. As he moved deeper into the ship's belly, he passed the cargo holds, the crew quarters, and the bridge before finally reaching an access panel in the farthest corner of the Orion. The noise was deafening now, vibrating the floor beneath his boots. He opened the access panel, his mind racing with possibilities. Inside, he found a small hatch he had never seen before. It was wedged into the ship's innermost cavity, tucked away from the rest of the ship's systems. The hum was louder now, and Jack's fingers trembled as he reached for the hatch. The panel slid open with an almost mechanical hiss, revealing a dark, metal tunnel that led deeper into the heart of the ship. At the end of the tunnel, a faint light flickered, and Jack could feel his pulse quicken. There was no reason for the Orion to have any such tunnel. This was not part of the ship's blueprints. This wasn't supposed to be here. His heart pounded in his chest as he crawled forward, the metallic walls of the tunnel seeming to close in on him. The air grew colder the deeper he went, and the hum grew louder until it felt like it was vibrating through his very bones. Jack was on the verge of turning back when he finally reached the source. What he saw next made his stomach drop. At the end of the tunnel, nestled within an ancient, alien-looking chamber, was a ship, an alien ship, unmistakably. It was unlike anything Jack had ever seen. Its design was sleek, smooth, and curved in ways that defied the laws of human engineering. The ship's surface shimmered with iridescent hues, and faint energy pulses rippled across its hull. It was half buried in the metal of the Orion, as if the two ships had fused together over time. The hum was coming from it, but now Jack realized something even more disturbing: the ship was alive. A soft glow pulsed at its center, and Jack could feel it reverberating in the air around him. He took a cautious step forward, his boots barely making a sound as he moved closer. His eyes widened as he noticed the faint symbols engraved across the surface of the alien vessel, symbols that looked like nothing Jack had ever encountered, not in any of his years as a mechanic. What the hell? Jack muttered under his breath. He had heard of alien ships before, but none had ever been found. And none had ever looked like this. His hand hovered over the vessel's surface, trembling with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The moment his fingers made contact with the smooth metal, a shock ran through his body. It was like nothing Jack had ever felt before. A burst of energy surged through his arm, and his mind seemed to be flooded with visions, alien landscapes, stars being born, ancient civilizations in their prime. Then, just as quickly as it began, the vision stopped. Jack staggered back, his head spinning. The ship's hum grew louder, and the glow at its center flared brighter. He blinked, rubbing his eyes, trying to clear the disorienting sensations. In the back of his mind, Jack knew something had just changed, something big. This wasn't just an alien vessel. This wasn't just a random discovery in deep space. No, this was something more. Something important. Before he could collect his thoughts, a voice echoed inside his head. "You are not supposed to be here." Jack froze. The voice wasn't coming from anywhere he could see. It was in his mind, a soft whisper that sent chills crawling up his spine. He took a step back, his heart thundering in his chest. "Leave now. You have tampered with forces you do not understand." The ship's glow flickered again, and the hum began to intensify. It was becoming unbearable now, as though the ship was reacting to his presence. The voice, still in his mind, spoke again. "This is your last warning, human." Jack's breath quickened, panic beginning to rise. His instincts told him to leave, now. But as he turned to flee, the passageway he had crawled through seemed to close in on him, as if the ship itself had decided to trap him. Suddenly, the alien ship's pulse of energy flared once again, and everything went black. The world came rushing back to Jack in a whirlwind of sensation. He woke up with a gasp, his body shuddering as though waking from a nightmare, but the nightmare was real. His head ached, his vision blurred, and for a moment, he couldn't remember where he was, or how he got there. A low, persistent hum filled the air, steady and constant, like a heartbeat from the very bowels of the ship. Panic seized him as he struggled to sit up. He was no longer in the tunnel beneath the Orion. No, he was lying in what appeared to be a chamber, the walls shimmering with the same iridescent glow as the alien ship. The glow pulsed around him, and the ship seemed to breathe, as though it was alive. "What?" Jack whispered, his voice hoarse. His hand reached out to steady himself, but the surface around him was smooth and slick, almost organic in its texture. He could feel the hum resonating in his chest, deep inside his bones. It was no longer just sound. It was connection. He could feel the ship, the energy inside it, wrapping around his very being. For a few moments, Jack lay there, dazed, as his mind tried to piece together what had just happened. He had touched the ship, he had felt its energy surge through him, and then, blackness. It had all been a blur of light, sound, and sensation, leaving him with more questions than answers. His head still felt heavy, but as the fog in his mind began to lift, he realized something else: he wasn't alone. A soft whisper, like a breeze against his ear, swept through the chamber. It was the same voice he had heard before, echoing in his mind, but now it felt more present, more urgent. "You should not have touched it." Jack jerked back, scrambling to his feet, eyes wide. He was no longer sure whether the voice was real or if it was just in his head, but one thing was certain: he was not alone in this ship, not anymore. The chamber seemed to twist around him, as if it were alive, responding to his fear and confusion. Strange symbols flashed on the walls in rapid succession, and the soft pulse of energy grew stronger, vibrating through the air. The ship, or whatever this entity was, seemed to be aware of him now, aware of his presence in a way that he couldn't understand. He stood up slowly, taking in his surroundings. The chamber stretched before him in an impossible shape, curved walls and surfaces that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Everything was so alien. He had never seen anything like this before, and he didn't know how to interpret it. But the voice persisted, calm and steady. You have awakened something that was meant to remain dormant. Jack clenched his fists. He had no idea what was going on, but he knew one thing for certain: he had to get out. Whatever this place was, it wasn't safe. He turned to leave the chamber, but as his hand brushed against the doorway, a sudden flash of light blinded him. The walls shimmered again, and the voice returned, more insistent now. You cannot leave. The door, or whatever passageway he had tried to enter, was sealed shut. Jack slammed his fist against it, frustration bubbling up inside him. He had no idea what was happening or how he had ended up here, but he wasn't going to just sit around and wait for something to happen. Suddenly, there was a shift in the air. The chamber grew colder, the hum became a low growl, and the walls seemed to pulse with an unnatural rhythm. A flicker of light danced across the chamber, and a figure appeared before him. Jack froze. The figure was humanoid, but not quite human. She was tall, with skin that shimmered like liquid metal, and eyes that glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light. Her face was serene, almost ethereal, and her presence seemed to fill the chamber, making everything else fade into the background. You have touched what you should not have, she said, her voice calm but heavy with authority. Jack took a step back, his heart pounding in his chest. What, are you? I am the one who guards this vessel, she said, her gaze piercing him. I am the last of my kind. Jack swallowed hard, his mind reeling. I don't understand. What is this place? What is this ship? The woman's eyes softened, but her voice remained firm. This is not a place for your kind, human. You have stumbled upon something ancient, something beyond your comprehension. This ship is the last remnant of an empire that existed long before your species even learned to speak. Jack blinked, trying to process the enormity of what she was saying. So, you're saying, this ship is alien? And it's, what, been here for thousands of years? She nodded slowly. The empire it represents fell long ago, but it lives on. Its power remains within this vessel, and you have awakened it. You have unlocked something you cannot undo. Jack was speechless, his mind racing. This was insane. He had never believed in aliens, at least, not in the way he was experiencing it now. This was beyond anything he had imagined. Why me? He asked, the question escaping before he could stop it. Why did it come to me? Why was I chosen? The woman's gaze softened again, and she stepped closer. You were not chosen, human. You were simply the one who crossed its path. This ship has a will of its own. And you, being a mechanic, saw something in it. You awakened it. She paused, her eyes narrowing. But what you do next will determine the fate of your species. Jack's stomach twisted. What are you saying? What do you want from me? A brief silence passed between them. The woman's eyes locked onto his, and in that moment, Jack felt a strange sense of calm wash over him. He could feel the weight of her words pressing down on him, suffocating him with their importance. The ship, though dormant, holds power, power that could change the course of history, she said softly. And now, because of your actions, it is asking for something in return. Jack swallowed hard, his throat dry. What does it want? The woman stepped back, her eyes glowing brighter. It offers you a reward, human. A gift, if you will. But be warned, the gift will come at a cost. Jack's heart skipped a beat. What could this alien ship possibly offer him? And at what cost? Without giving him time to respond, the woman's hand extended toward him, her fingers outstretched. As she did, a small, glowing object appeared in her palm, a strange, metallic device, pulsing with an energy Jack couldn't even begin to understand. This is the reward, she said, her voice low and steady. Take it. But know this, it is not just a gift. It is a key. And it will unlock powers you are not prepared to handle. The device in her hand seemed to shimmer and hum, as if alive with energy. Jack hesitated, the weight of her words sinking in. He wasn't sure what to do. The device looked harmless enough, but there was something about it that set his nerves on edge. Why me? Jack asked again, the question lingering in the air. Because, she said, her eyes gleaming, you are the one who has awakened the ship. Now, you must decide whether you will use its power, or whether you will destroy it before it consumes you. The chamber seemed to grow colder, and Jack could feel the weight of the decision pressing on him. His mind raced with possibilities. What if this was his chance to change everything? What if he could use the power of the device to save his people? Or what if it would all end in catastrophe? Before he could make up his mind, the woman spoke one last time. The choice is yours, human. Choose wisely. Jack's fingers hovered over the strange device, its metallic surface reflecting the pulsating glow of the alien ship. The woman stood still, watching him intently, her glowing eyes filled with quiet expectation. A deep sense of foreboding settled over him, and despite the calm in her voice, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the edge of something monumental, something beyond his comprehension. He glanced from the device to her, then back again. The weight of her words echoed in his mind, it is a key. And it will unlock powers you are not prepared to handle. The warning lingered, pressing on his chest like an unseen force. Jack wasn't prepared. Not for this. Not for any of it. Yet here he was, holding the fate of something far larger than himself in his hands. What is this? He finally managed to ask, his voice strained. What does it do? What kind of power does it hold? The woman's gaze softened, but her tone remained calm and measured. The device is a key to a greater mystery, Jack. It is not meant for your species, not yet. It was created by an ancient race that once ruled the galaxy, a race that understood forces beyond even the stars. They were capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality itself. The device you hold is an artifact, a remnant of their time, and it holds knowledge that could change everything. Jack swallowed hard. His hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from the weight of what he was hearing. The universe was so much more complex than he had ever imagined. What kind of race had the ability to manipulate reality itself? What could they have been like, to create such a thing? He slowly lowered his hand, still unsure whether he should touch it. His heart was pounding in his chest, but curiosity, insatiable, burning curiosity, drove him forward. And you're telling me I have to use it? That it's mine now? Yes, the woman replied. You have touched the ship. You have awakened it. It is yours now, but it is also a responsibility. You must learn what it truly is, Jack. Learn what it means for humanity. Jack's mind raced as he processed her words. What did it mean for humanity? What kind of responsibility was she talking about? He glanced at the device again, the shimmering surface reflecting his troubled face. The woman seemed to sense his hesitation. You fear the unknown, she said, her voice quiet. But it is inevitable. The key you hold connects you to the past. It will show you what came before and what is to come. Your future is tied to it now, whether you choose to accept it or not. The word sent a chill through Jack. Was this fate? Had the universe, no, had the ship, chosen him? He had always considered himself just a mechanic. A man who fixed things, who dealt with engines and circuits, who lived his life in the hum of machines. But now, he was holding something that could shape the very course of history. He felt small and insignificant, but at the same time, the weight of this discovery made him feel powerful, like he had a role to play in something far bigger than himself. As if sensing his inner turmoil, the woman spoke again. Do not fear what you do not understand. The device will show you its true purpose in time. You will learn its power, and then, you will decide whether to use it, or destroy it. Jack looked up at her, his heart pounding. What happens if I don't do anything? If I just walk away? She shook her head, her expression unreadable. There is no walking away, Jack. You are already too deep in this. The ship has already recognized you, and now, it will not let you go. Your destiny is linked to it. 1,000 questions swirled in Jack's mind, but before he could speak again, the ship around him seemed to shift. The walls began to ripple, the once still air thickening with energy. The low hum, which had been a constant presence, began to change, now a deep rumbling sound that seemed to reverberate through the entire chamber. Jack instinctively took a step back, a sense of unease flooding his chest. The woman didn't move, but her eyes narrowed, her face becoming more serious. It is beginning. The ship is awakening. Before Jack could react, the ship's energy surged, flooding the room with an intense light. He shielded his eyes, but the light continued to grow brighter, until it was blinding. The hum that had once been a background presence now seemed to swell, louder and more intense, shaking the walls and sending vibrations through Jack's bones. Then, the light stopped. Jack lowered his arm, blinking against the sudden shift. The chamber was still, but something had changed. The air felt heavier, charged with an electric presence. The ship, if it could be called that, was alive in a way that no human-made machine could ever be. The presence of it pressed in on him, surrounding him, until it felt like the very walls were pulsing with a sentience all their own. The woman's eyes glowed brighter now, her expression unreadable. She took a step forward, and for the first time, Jack saw something akin to urgency in her gaze. It is showing you the way, Jack. The ship is unlocking the knowledge that lies dormant within it. You will see what it has to offer. You must understand the past before you can face the future. Before Jack could speak, the ground beneath him shifted. He stumbled but caught himself, staring at the floor in confusion. The chamber had begun to change, transforming before his very eyes. The walls rippled like liquid, and the floor beneath his feet seemed to dissolve into mist. For a moment, it felt as if the entire chamber was being consumed by a cosmic energy, like a black hole pulling everything into it. But then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything stopped. The floor beneath him solidified again, and the walls returned to their original form. But this time, something was different. Something had changed. A vision appeared before him, a holographic image, flickering and shimmering in the air, like an ancient, forgotten memory coming to life. The image was of a massive city, sprawling and majestic, its towering structures stretching up into the sky. The architecture was unlike anything Jack had ever seen, smooth, elegant, and organic, as though the city had grown from the earth itself, rather than being built by hands. This was the city of the ancients, the woman's voice echoed through the chamber. The last of my kind, the ones who wielded the power you now hold. They were the masters of time and space, and they ruled over the galaxy for millennia. The vision flickered, and Jack felt a strange pull in his chest, as though the image was calling to him, drawing him in. He reached out, as if to touch it, but stopped just short. The woman's voice came again, this time sharper, more insistent. Do not touch it, she warned. You must not interfere with what you are seeing. This is not for you to control. Jack withdrew his hand, confused, but the vision did not fade. Instead, it expanded, showing more images, cities rising from the dust, alien ships soaring through the stars, and beings of unimaginable power, their forms shifting like liquid as they manipulated the very fabric of reality. The images flowed in rapid succession, too fast for Jack to fully understand, but one thing was clear: the ancients were not gods, but they were something far beyond the reach of humanity. Their power, their knowledge, was immense, and now it was linked to Jack in a way that he could not yet comprehend. The woman's voice returned, softer now, almost mournful. This is what you have awakened. This is what you must understand. The ancients were not benevolent. They ruled with an iron fist, but they were eventually undone by their own arrogance. The ship you have unlocked is not just a vessel, it is a prison. And it is waiting for someone to free it. Jack's mind reeled. Free it? But, what do you mean? Free it from what? She hesitated before answering, her gaze distant. Free it from its creators. Free it from the prison they built. Jack's mind was still reeling from the revelations he had just witnessed. The images of the ancient city and the powerful beings, the ancients, swirled in his head, playing out in front of his eyes like a strange dream. The woman had warned him not to interfere, but he couldn't help but feel the overwhelming pull to understand more, to learn everything he could about the ship, the device, and the mysterious past that seemed to be tied to him. The chamber had returned to its eerie calm after the vision, the pulsating glow now dimming slightly. The hum of the ship had subsided, but there was still a lingering sense of energy, of something greater than he could fathom, just beneath the surface. He could feel it in his chest, a constant vibration that was as much mental as it was physical. The woman, who had remained silent for a long time, finally spoke again, her voice now tinged with a hint of urgency. You are beginning to understand, aren't you? This ship, this vessel, it is not just a piece of technology. It is a key to something far more dangerous. The ancients, though they once wielded great power, were not the masters they believed themselves to be. Their empire collapsed because they tried to control something they could not understand. And now, you have awakened it. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to process what she was saying. What exactly am I awakening? And why me? Why am I the one who has this device, who has this connection to this ship? The woman's gaze softened, and for the first time, Jack noticed a hint of sadness in her eyes. Because you are the one who stumbled upon this ship. The ancients never intended for anyone to discover their legacy. They were content in their isolation, their empire hidden away from the rest of the universe. But the ship, the device, it has a mind of its own. It chose you, Jack. But why? Why did it choose me? Jack asked again, feeling the weight of the question pressing against him. His mind was spinning, and he couldn't make sense of the fragments of truth he had learned so far. She stepped closer, her presence like a force of nature, unyielding and powerful. It chose you because you are different. You have a mind that is capable of understanding the mysteries of this ship. The ancients created many like you, mechanics, engineers, beings who could repair and maintain their technology. But you have something they didn't. You have curiosity, Jack. A hunger for knowledge that will allow you to unlock the full potential of the device. Jack's brow furrowed. And if I don't use it? If I just leave? What happens then? The woman's eyes darkened. Then the ship will find another. It is not a choice, Jack. It is inevitable. The device has already recognized you. There is no turning back now. The weight of her words hung in the air like a thick fog, and Jack could feel the pressure mounting in his chest. He didn't want to be the one to decide the fate of an entire galaxy. He was just a mechanic, a man who fixed things. He didn't ask for this responsibility. But the reality was clear, he was already involved, whether he liked it or not. Okay, Jack muttered, his voice hoarse. So what do I do now? The woman's expression shifted slightly, the sternness of her demeanor softening just a fraction. Now, you must learn. The ship will guide you, but you must be prepared. The journey ahead will not be easy. You will face challenges that will test you, but you will also gain knowledge. The device, it is more than just a key. It is a connection to the past, a bridge between the ancients and your kind. You will discover things, Jack. Things that could change the course of history. Jack took a deep breath. He could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on him, the uncertainty about what lay ahead. But there was something else too, something deeper. A curiosity, a need to understand that was gnawing at him from the inside. He had to know more. "What do I need to do to learn?" he asked, determination seeping into his voice. The woman stepped back, her gaze flickering to the shimmering walls of the chamber. "You must follow the path that has been set before you. The ship will provide the knowledge, but only if you are ready to receive it. The first step is simple. Take the device, and let it guide you." Jack hesitated, but only for a moment. He reached out slowly, his hand trembling slightly, and took the device from the woman's outstretched hand. It felt warm in his palm, pulsing with an energy that seemed to be alive, vibrating with a force that was both foreign and familiar. As soon as his fingers closed around it, the hum of the ship intensified again, and the walls of the chamber seemed to ripple with a life of their own. The woman nodded, as if confirming something she already knew. "Now, the journey begins." As soon as she spoke, the ship around him began to change once more. The walls shimmered, and the air seemed to grow heavier, charged with a strange energy. Jack could feel it in his bones, an overwhelming sense of something ancient, something long buried, awakening. The ship, the device, the woman, everything seemed to be converging into a single moment, a point in time that would set the course of his future. Suddenly, the chamber's walls began to move, sliding apart like doors opening to another world. Jack stepped forward instinctively, his eyes wide as the path ahead revealed itself. What he saw beyond the opening took his breath away. Before him lay an immense, hollowed-out space, larger than any room he had ever seen. The walls were made of smooth, black stone, inscribed with the same mysterious symbols that adorned the ship's exterior. In the center of the space was a massive, glowing structure, something that looked like a control center, but far more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. "This is the heart of the ship," the woman's voice echoed. "This is where the knowledge lies. Where the ancients stored everything they knew, their history, their power, their secrets." Jack stepped forward, his heart racing. He felt a strange pull toward the structure, as though the ship itself was drawing him in. It was as if the very air was alive with anticipation, with the promise of something waiting to be discovered. As he approached the control center, the device in his hand pulsed again, glowing brighter with each step. The symbols on the walls began to flicker, and the ship hummed louder, responding to the device's presence. Jack's mind raced. He had no idea what he was about to uncover, but he knew one thing: this was only the beginning. With a deep breath, Jack approached the glowing structure. He could feel his heartbeat quickening, the weight of what he was about to do pressing down on him. The power that lay before him was unimaginable, and he had no idea what the consequences of his actions would be. But there was no turning back now. He placed the device into a slot in the center of the control panel, and as soon as it clicked into place, a surge of energy shot through him, flooding his body with a strange, intoxicating force. Images flashed before his eyes, visions of alien worlds, ancient civilizations, and beings of unimaginable power. The ship responded to the device, unlocking its secrets, and Jack could feel it all: the knowledge, the power, the weight of centuries of history, all of it crashing into him in a single, overwhelming moment. And then, as the images began to fade, one final, chilling truth revealed itself to him. The ancients were not gone. They were waiting. And they had never truly left. The air around Jack felt like it was alive, charged, crackling with energy. His body hummed with a strange power, and his mind raced with the endless flood of information that had overwhelmed him. The visions had come fast, too fast for him to fully process. Alien worlds, forgotten histories, and memories of an empire long gone, all of it had crashed into his consciousness, overwhelming him. And yet, as the visions faded, one thing had become clear: the ancients were not gone. They were not extinct. They were waiting. Waiting for what? Jack couldn't answer that question yet. But the ship, the device, had given him a glimpse, a taste of what was to come. He had seen the vast reaches of the galaxy, the cities of the ancients, their technology, their power, and their downfall. He had learned that they were more than just conquerors, they were manipulators of reality itself, able to twist time and space, to bend the universe to their will. But power like that came at a cost. And now, Jack was standing at the precipice. He had touched the device. He had unlocked its secrets. And now the ship was asking him to make a choice, one that could change the course of everything. A sudden, sharp jolt ran through the ship, shaking the ground beneath his feet. The walls flickered, the glow around him dimming for a moment, before surging back to life. The ship was alive. But it wasn't just the ship anymore, it was him. The device was part of him now, embedded in his very being, and the connection between them was stronger than ever. Jack felt the pull of the ship, the weight of the decision bearing down on him. He could feel it in his bones, he was not just a bystander anymore. He was a part of this. A part of something ancient, something dangerous. The woman, the one who had guided him so far, was standing beside him now, her expression unreadable. Her glowing eyes studied him, waiting for him to make his move. But Jack was frozen, the enormity of the choice before him too overwhelming to comprehend. "Make your choice," the woman said softly, her voice steady and calm, though her eyes betrayed the urgency in her tone. "You must choose, Jack. Will you wield the power of the ancients? Will you take control of the device and use it to reshape reality as we know it? Or will you destroy it, and let the power of the ship remain dormant, hidden from the universe?" The weight of her words settled in his chest, crushing him. The power to reshape reality. It sounded impossible, absurd. But Jack had seen it, he had seen the ancients wield that power. He had felt it in his very bones. And now, the choice was his. The fate of the universe rested in his hands. He could feel the ship's energy growing stronger, more insistent. It was calling to him, urging him to make the decision. It wanted him to take control, to use the power that lay within the device. He had already witnessed what it could do, what it had done. But could he? Could he really take that kind of power into his own hands? Was he ready for the consequences? Jack glanced at the woman, searching her face for answers. But she gave him nothing, no comfort, no guidance. She was merely a witness, a guide, not a participant. She had no stake in the decision. But Jack did. "What happens if I choose to wield it?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. The woman's expression remained neutral, but her eyes were filled with something Jack couldn't quite decipher. "If you choose to wield the power, you will have the ability to reshape the galaxy as the ancients did. You will have the power to bend time and space, to alter reality itself. You will become something more than human. But with that power comes a responsibility. A responsibility to guide the universe, to control the forces that could tear it apart." She paused, her eyes locking onto his. "But you will also become a target. The ancients were not the only ones who desired this power. There are others who will stop at nothing to take it from you. If you choose this path, you will be hunted. And you will be forced to make difficult choices, choices that will shape the future of every living being in the galaxy." Jack's mind reeled as the implications of her words sank in. He was not just deciding his own fate. He was deciding the fate of the universe. He was deciding whether to wield a power so immense that it could destroy everything, or save it. "And if I choose to destroy it?" he asked, his voice shaky. "If you destroy it," the woman said, "you will be relinquishing all the power the ancients held. The device will be destroyed, and the ship will fall dormant once again. The knowledge you have gained will be lost. But the galaxy will remain in its natural state, free from the influence of the ancients." She paused, her gaze unwavering. "But there is no guarantee that others won't come looking for it. The ship's power will remain out there, waiting to be found again. And when it is, it will be just as dangerous as it was before." Jack's heart pounded in his chest. This was it. The moment of truth. There was no turning back now. He stepped away from the woman, his eyes flicking to the glowing device in his hand. The power of the ancients pulsed through it, and he could feel it calling to him, urging him to embrace it. But was he ready for what that power would bring? He had always been a mechanic. A man who fixed things. He wasn't a leader, he wasn't a hero. He had never asked for this responsibility. He had never wanted it. But the universe had chosen him. The ship had chosen him. And now, he had to make a choice. The woman watched him, her gaze steady. What will it be, Jack? Will you choose power, or will you choose to destroy it? The future of everything depends on your choice. Jack stood there, his mind racing. The weight of the decision pressed on him like an anchor, dragging him down into the depths of uncertainty. He could feel the ship's energy thrumming through his veins, pushing him toward a decision he wasn't sure he was ready to make. But there was something else, too. Something deep inside him, something that had always been there, even before all of this. A desire to protect, a desire to understand, a hunger to make a difference. And now, for better or for worse, he had the chance to do something about it. Finally, Jack took a deep breath, his fingers tightening around the device. He knew what he had to do. I will wield it, he said, his voice firm despite the uncertainty swirling in his chest. I will take control. The woman nodded, her expression unreadable. Then you must be prepared, Jack. The path you have chosen is not an easy one. But it is the path you have chosen. As soon as the words left his mouth, the ship seemed to respond. The walls of the chamber shuddered, and a deep, resonant hum filled the air. The device in Jack's hand pulsed with an intense energy, and the entire ship seemed to come alive. The power of the ancients surged through him, filling him with a sense of purpose, and a sense of fear. He had chosen. Now, he would have to face the consequences. The woman stepped back, her gaze distant, as if she was watching something far beyond Jack's reach. The ship will guide you, Jack. But remember, this power is not yours alone. You must control it. Or it will control you. Jack felt the weight of her words as he stepped forward, the power of the ship thrumming through him. There was no going back now. The future of the galaxy, and his own fate, was in his hands. The ship thrummed beneath Jack's feet as he walked through the now activated heart of the vessel. The power of the ancients surged through him, alive with potential, and the air around him felt thick with the weight of what he had just done. The choice he had made, his decision to wield the power of the ancients, had irrevocably altered the course of his life and, with it, the fate of the universe. There was no turning back now. As he passed through the long, glowing corridors, the ship seemed to respond to him. The walls rippled as if they were alive, shimmering with a faint, ethereal light. The hum that had been a background presence now resonated with a deep, resonant energy, pulsing in time with his own heartbeat. He could feel the ship's energy, its consciousness, merging with his own. It was as though the ship had become an extension of himself, its thoughts and desires intertwined with his. But despite the incredible power flowing through him, there was still a gnawing sense of unease. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking a dangerous path, one that might lead him into darkness. The warnings had been clear, the power of the ancients was not something to be taken lightly. It was a force that could either save the galaxy or destroy it. And now, as the power surged within him, Jack had to decide how he would use it. The woman had said that the path ahead would not be easy. That there would be challenges, enemies, and forces beyond his control. But she had also said something else, something that had stuck with him ever since she first spoke those words: the future of everything depends on your choice. As Jack walked through the ship, he reflected on what he had learned. The ancients had been rulers of the galaxy, wielding power beyond imagination. But they had fallen. Their empire had crumbled, undone by their own hubris and the very forces they had sought to control. The ship, the device, had been left behind, a remnant of their civilization. And now, it was his to command. But there were others, Jack knew, who would stop at nothing to take that power from him. He had already felt their presence, an unseen enemy lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. They would come. He knew that now. The corridors of the ship began to widen, opening into a massive control room. The walls here were adorned with strange, shifting symbols, glowing with an iridescent light. In the center of the room stood a massive console, its surface sleek and smooth, pulsing with an alien energy. This was the heart of the ship, the place where the true power of the ancients had been stored, the nexus of their civilization's most powerful secrets. Jack stepped forward, drawn to the console. He could feel the device in his hand pulsing with energy, guiding him toward the control panel. As he placed the device on the surface of the console, the entire room seemed to come alive. The symbols on the walls shifted, and the console began to hum with an intensity that rattled the air. "Welcome, Jack," a voice resonated from the depths of the ship. It was the voice of the ancients, but it was more than just a voice, it was a presence, a consciousness that seemed to fill the entire room. "You have unlocked the power of the ancients. You have chosen the path of creation and destruction. Now, you must decide how to wield this power." Jack's heart skipped a beat. He had known this moment would come, but hearing the voice, feeling its presence, was something entirely different. The ship, the device, the ancients, they were all waiting for him to decide. He could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. "I know what I must do," Jack said aloud, though his voice trembled with uncertainty. "I know what power this ship holds. But I don't know how to control it. I don't know what it will do to me." The voice responded, calm and unyielding. "You will learn. But first, you must understand the consequences of your choice. The power you wield will shape the future of the galaxy. You can reshape reality. You can control time, space, and life itself. But there are those who seek this power. And they will stop at nothing to take it from you." Jack clenched his fists, the weight of the decision pressing down on him like a physical force. He had always believed that power came with responsibility, but this was something beyond anything he had ever imagined. He had no idea how to use the power, or how to control it. But he had to. He had no choice. The ship's hum intensified, and the symbols on the walls began to shift more rapidly. The voice spoke again, this time with a hint of urgency. "The enemy is coming, Jack. They are already aware of your actions. They know that you have unlocked the ship's power, and they will stop at nothing to take it from you. You must be prepared." Before Jack could respond, the walls of the chamber flickered, and a sudden, sharp jolt shook the ship. The lights dimmed, and the room was filled with a low, ominous rumble. Something was coming. The voice returned, louder now. "They are here." Jack turned toward the control panel, his heart racing. He had no idea who they were, but he could feel the ship's warning. There was no time to waste. He had to act. The ship's energy surged around him, and Jack reached out instinctively, his hand touching the control panel. The device in his palm pulsed with an intensity he had never felt before, and suddenly, the ship's power flowed through him. It was overwhelming, immense, all-consuming. For a moment, Jack lost himself in the rush of energy, feeling the weight of the universe pressing down on him. But then, something snapped within him. The power surged into his mind, and Jack's vision cleared. He saw the future, he saw the galaxy, and the choice he had to make. The enemy was approaching, fast. He could feel their presence, like a storm on the horizon. They were coming to take the power from him, to destroy everything he had just unlocked. But Jack had a choice. He could fight. He could protect the power he had just gained, or he could destroy it, destroy the ship, destroy everything the ancients had left behind. His mind raced. The consequences of either choice were unimaginable. If he chose to protect the power, the galaxy would change. The ancients' influence would spread once more, and the forces that had brought them down would rise again. If he destroyed it, the power would be lost, but so would the chance to control the future. Jack closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. He had made his choice. The future of the galaxy rested in his hands. The ship responded to his decision, and suddenly, the walls of the control room shattered. Energy coursed through the ship as the power of the ancients surged in all directions, flooding the galaxy with a new wave of force. The enemy was here, but so was Jack. He stood tall, his mind clear, his body filled with the power of the ship. He would fight. He would protect what he had unlocked, and he would ensure that the power of the ancients did not fall into the wrong hands. The battle for the future had begun.